Good morning. Welcome to the January 15th meeting of the Sunset Beach Environmental Resource Committee. I would like to call the meeting to order and ask everyone to pledge allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business is the draft agenda. Are there any amendments anyone would like to make to the agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve the draft agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have the meeting minutes from our December 11th meeting. Are there any changes anyone would like to have made? Otherwise, I need a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor? Aye. Are there any public comments on our agenda? Okay. I'd like to welcome the public here today. We don't often have very many people attend. First order of business are our subcommittee discussions, starting with the climate report. And Alan, would you start the slideshow? You get over here, Steve.
Yep.
This picture, by the way, is sunrise on the beach on Christmas morning. It was cold. I'd like to start out by talking about 2024 and what happened in the world in 2024 with respect to the climate. 2024 was the warmest year in recorded history. The global surface temperature was 2.32 degrees Fahrenheit, 1.29 degrees centigrade above average. It's a record-setting year, and the second hottest year in history was 2023. So we're not on a good pathway here. And the forecasts for 2025 are to have another hot year. 2023 and 2024 were influenced by the El Nino, which does raise temperatures, and I'll talk some more about that later. So maybe we're headed into a La Nina phase right now. It's a short phase, but it is happening, and hopefully that'll cool things off. There were 18 named tropical storms in the Atlantic in 2024, and that's above average. The Arctic sea ice was the 7th smallest on record, and the Antarctic sea ice was the 2nd lowest on record. Those are indications of the amount of melting that's taken place, and that affects the level of the oceans around the world. When we look at sea level change, our coastline is very similar to the data recorded at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And the projected sea level rise at Myrtle Beach is online at the earth.gov sea level website. Sea level rose 6 inches from 2000 to 2024, and is expected to rise another 9 inches from 2020 to 2025. So that's 15 inches in 50 years. That may not sound like a lot to people, but it is. It impacts tidal flooding. It impacts storm surge from tropical events, and it impacts beach erosion. So we are on a path to experiencing a lot of new things that we've never experienced before. I'll move on to our Jinks Creek Tubbs Inlet study. We look at the calendar for 2024 with king tide events, and we've talked about this at past meetings. We had a period of king tide events from August, September, October, and November that really, I think, had an impact on our beach strand and on Tubbs Inlet. And we'll show some pictures later. So the end of the year was very impactful. And we look at the forecast for king tides in 2025. We've got a lull period here in the first half of the year. But again, at the end of the year, there are forecasts for king tides that bring a lot of high levels of water, and that brings a lot of sand up onto the beaches. It brings a lot of sand into Tubbs Inlet. So we're in kind of a hopefully we're in kind of a lull period now. Although there's other things that affect the beach strand and affect Tubbs Inlet than king tides. In December and January, there were periods of time where there were very high ocean wave levels. And if you walk down the beach and you really try to read what's happening on the beach, you'll notice that there's a lot more sand pushed up against the dunes. And that comes from the wave action. That comes from the king tides. That comes from sand being pushed out of the ocean up on the beach, into the inlet, out into the creeks that are fed by the inlet. And Jinks Creek is one of those creeks. We didn't have pictures of Tubbs Inlet and Jinks Creek last month because the pictures were taken after the meeting, but we have these pictures taken on December 13th. And what we see here is that there's a lot of sand being built up in Tubbs Inlet. We see that the channel for Tubbs Inlet has been pushed from the edge of Ocean Isle Beach. In 2018, this channel was all the way over here. Now it's moved up to where it's on the edge of Sunset Beach Island. Not only that, but you see how narrow the channel is at low tide. And if you're out there trying to see what's going on, you'll see that it's not only narrow, but it's shallow. And that happens when all this sand is being pushed into the inlet from the ocean. We see the sand at the inlet, but we also look out into the creeks that are fed by the inlet, and you see how the sand is being built up in the creeks. And that's happening not only here in this creek, but it's happening over there on the North Jinks Creek channel too. At low tide, these creeks in the inlet are basically not navigable. You can't navigate a boat through there because the water's too shallow. This has been building up over years. It's not something that's happened recently, but it is continuing to get worse. This is a picture from the north looking south, and you see how the sand is built up on the end of this bit. It's hard to see the depth of the water because of the reflections of the sun, but this whole area out here is building up, and it's very difficult for anybody to navigate a boat through there. The other thing to notice here is the angle of the inlet coming in. And with the angle of the water coming in as the high tide comes in, it erodes along this shoreline. Now the volume of water is not as great as it used to be, so the erosion isn't as bad as it used to be. But this angle changes from season to season. If you look at pictures from the past, it wasn't too long ago that the angle of that inlet was off to the south, to the west. But it's a natural oscillation of that inlet angle. Looking towards Ocean Isle Beach, we see the Jinks Creek area here, and you can see the shallowness of the water with the reflections of the sand. And a lot of people go out at low tide and just walk across the Jinks Creek and walk out onto the delta area behind the island. But if you do that, I suggest you don't stay there very long, because when the tide comes up, you'll be stuck. But you see how narrow the channel here is. And the other thing to be mindful of are these breakers out here. And these breakers are out here because that's where the sand has built up and the water's shallow. So we have a very large pool area there. But it wasn't too long ago that this line of breakers out here was actually down here. So the sand is building up and extending out into the ocean. Now, here we have pictures taken on January 13th. This was on Monday. By the way, all of these pictures from last month and this month were taken by Mickey Cochran, who many of you may know from his photographs on Facebook. Mickey volunteers to do this for us, and we appreciate it very much. These pictures were taken on a cloudy day, so it's hard to see a lot of the details that you see on a bright sunny day. And the tide level of these pictures is very close to what the tide level was in December. But it appears that this line of breakers out here has continued to move out into the ocean. There's not a whole lot of change here. Doesn't appear that there's been a whole lot more erosion along the shoreline on Sunset Beach side of the channel. But everything has continued to stay the same. So, as we look at 2024, we've actually been doing this study since the middle of 2023. And what we've seen is that the Jinks Creek channel has migrated basically from almost the center of Palm Cove way beyond Palm Cove. The flood tide delta, which is the buildup area of sand behind Sunset Beach Island, has grown in area. The surface elevation has risen, and the weeds are growing more widely over that sand area. Jinks Creek has become very shallow at low tide because it's filled up with sand, and the only opportunity to navigate through that area is around high tide. And even then, I think you have to know what you're doing. Tubbs Inlet, that channel has moved westward, as I mentioned before, towards Sunset Beach, although it seems to have stabilized in the last 12 to 18 months. The creeks coming off of Tubbs Inlet, Jinks Creek, Still Creek, Souls Creek, are filling up with sand. And the tidal prism, which is the volume of water that goes through the inlet at high tide and low tide, is diminishing. There's just not as much water going through there, so there's not as much flushing action in the creeks to deal with the buildup of sand. And the ebb tide delta, which is the area of sand in front of the mouth of the inlet, has grown in area and elevation, as evidenced by the breaking action of the waves that we see. And if you go out there on days when the tide is well below average, there'll be people actually way out from the shoreline on the sand fishing out around the breakers there. So it's that's not going to change too much unless we have a big storm event that would cause something to change. Now, we've collected all these observations on what's been going on in Jinks Creek and Tubbs Inlet, and the town is in agreement with Palm Cove to do a dredging project to realign the Jinks Creek channel. And we'll be sharing all this information with the engineers for that project. Hopefully that'll help them come up with a better solution to realigning Jinks Creek. Are there any questions from the committee? The other thing I want to talk about is the rainfall history for Sunset Beach. This really started out as looking at the rainfall around the Twin Lakes. There's an organization, national organization of weather observers called COCOROS. I am a weather observer in Sunset Beach. I have a weather station at my house in Oyster Point, and I have collected data for many years, and I have access to the data that all of the other COCOROS weather observers input into their system. And I created this chart last year, and I presented it to council and have presented it to the committee before. And this shows the rainfall amounts over the years going back to 2013. We looked at this because we were very concerned about the impact of the below average rainfall in 2022 and 2023, and the impact that was having on the Twin Lakes. The stagnation of the water, the lack of flushing through the lake, the buildup of algae, the growth of weeds, and all of the things that were going on there. At the end of 2024, it looked like the rainfall had gone above average, but this data was taken was collected from October through September. So it wasn't a real calendar year as we look at the calendar. So what I did was I rearranged that data into a calendar year from January to December. And what it shows is that we've actually had 4 years in a row of below average rainfall in this area. It seems to be creeping up, but it continues to be below average. Now, I tried to understand this a little bit better, and so I plotted all the data by month for each of the years. And what it shows here is that in each of the last 4 years, we've had 1 or 2 months of above average rainfall. But for the great majority of the rest of the year, we've had below average conditions. So that's going to have a bigger impact on the lakes, I believe, than the months of high rainfall. We get last year we had Tropical Storm Debbie, and we had other high rain events, and they had a very short-term effect on the Twin Lakes. But the other months where we've had little to no rainfall really, I think, take a toll on not only the Twin Lakes, but all the lakes and ponds in the town. So just because it appears that on average we're digging ourselves out of the hole, I don't think we're there yet. And the forecast that NOAA has for the winter this year is for a below average season of rainfall. So we don't have any forecast hope for more rainfall coming in anytime in the near future. This is a chart of the surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean, showing where we've had periods of El Nino and La Nina. And in 2021 and 2022, we had a long period of a La Nina that really had a big impact on us weather-wise. A La Nina will cause drought in this area of the country, and it did. And the effects of that seem to be continuing. This period of El Nino in 2023 was pretty strong, but it was short-lived. And now we're going into another period of La Nina. And the La Nina forecast is for a short period of time. It'll only go through the winter into the spring. But the effects of it started long before it began and will probably continue for quite a while after it ends. So the good thing about a La Nina is the wind patterns historically have affected hurricanes in a positive way for us. It causes a lot of wind shear across the Southeast Ocean, and that keeps the hurricanes down or away from our area. If you think back into the recent history of how so many hurricanes and storms have gone along through the Caribbean up into the Gulf of Mexico, that's more characteristic of what happens in a La Nina period. So hopefully that'll give us some protection from hurricanes, but only time will tell. So in summary, we've had a 30-year average of 55 inches of rain. You can think of it in terms of we should get an inch of rain every month around here, a little bit more than that. So far this month, we've had a third of an inch. We're halfway through. We don't see any forecasts of any rain coming up, although there's some people are speculating on a winter storm in the middle of next week, but time will tell. We had a period of a lot of rain in July and August, where we had 10 inches above average. But then in September, October, November, and December, we were 10.5 inches below average. So that kind of wiped out any benefit from the above average rain. Overall, in 2024, the rainfall was almost 3 inches below average. I mentioned our forecast for the winter is below average rainfall, and it seems to be on track. I've talked about the El Nino and La Nina patterns. But again, the deficits of rainfall affect our lakes and ponds in a negative way, causing weed growth to happen more rapidly and can contribute to the growth of algae, which we've seen in the past. The town has a water treatment program with still water that seems to be pretty effective at controlling weed growth and algae growth. And so we'll just keep working with them and trying to keep that under control. But we want to be sure that we look at this program as it goes along and consider whatever enhancements are necessary as we see changes in the weather coming up. The last item here is really out of order from the agenda, but we have a subcommittee that met yesterday with Kimberly, and we're looking at the ERC portion of the town website, and we're looking at making improvements to that. And I'd like to thank Kathy and Steve for meeting with me and working with me on this with Kimberly. And I'd just like to go through a little bit of a summary of this. When you look at the town website, come up to the home page, this is kind of what you see. Down at the bottom, you'll see these, I don't know what you call them, buttons for different areas that give you quick access to an area. In this particular one, there's a button for garbage and recycling. And if anybody coming to the website has any questions about what the town offers for services in garbage and recycling, they can just hit on that button and it'll take them right to that area of the website. We've asked that we would put a button on here for the environment. That would be a direct connection to the activities that the ERC is undertaking to benefit the town. If you want to find the ERC going through the menus, you have to go to the government area and look down on the boards and committees to the Environmental Resource Committee. This is the page for the Environmental Resource Committee, and it just provides a very brief description of what the Environmental Resource Committee was organized to do. This description was taken right from the rules and responsibilities that were created by town council that formulated the committee that we're on. So that's what the town council wants us to be doing. Down below this, there's information, and for the other members of the committee, what we want to do here is we want to be able to put links to other websites or documents that are educational information for the community. We cleaned up what was there before. This is the new website that was created yesterday. There is other information available about the ERC, and that's over here on this menu under the ERC. There's access to the 2025 meeting information. There's a page about the Resilient Coastal Communities Program, and there's a page about the Tubbs Inlet Jinks Creek study that we've done with more information. Yeah. There's a number of ways that we can organize this. Kimberly came up with this idea, and I think it's a great one, that we put these boxes that really create more focus on the area, where you can just click on a box and go to another page with more information. So we got a lot more work to do on this. We're not complete with it yet, but we're updating the information that's out there, and we're making it more informative for the public about what we're doing. One thing I would like to say is this area of Resilient Coastal Communities Program, back in 2021, the town applied for and was selected by the Division of Coastal Management to be a participant in their Resilient Coastal Communities Program. This was an area to improve the resiliency of coastal communities. They selected and paid for a consultant to work with the town to look at all the risks and vulnerabilities the town had to natural disasters. And the town created a community action team of people from the community. It was people from the planning board and people from the ERC, and there were other people from the public on the committee. And we worked together to go through the handbook process that the Division of Coastal Management had created for this program. And we came up with a strategy for resilience for the community. And when that was all done, the responsibility to continue that program was passed on to the ERC. It's not as active a program as it had been at that time, but it's something that we are continuing to think about and work on. And so that is continued, and we have a page about it for information, and it's got all of the reports and final documents from the study that was done back in 2021 and 2022, if people are interested to learn more about it. And on the Jinks Creek Tubbs Inlet study page, we have a summary of our observations. We have links to slideshows with the photographs that we show at the meetings. So again, that information is available for the public. But I wanted to go through this with the committee so that the other members would know what we did yesterday, and what we're working on going forward. Are there any questions about this?
Glad to see it moving forward. Thank you.
I think it's good. It's flexible, and I think you can make changes to it on the fly. The only thing I mentioned to Kimberly this morning, or sent her an email, is a lot of people use iPhones and things like that. So whatever we do, I looked at the navigation. We could improve the navigation from a mobile device, or I think look at that as an opportunity so that I can pull things up on my phone.
I like the layout. As a new member, I went through the website, the prior website, So that's a good improvement for the public, I think, to be able to easily access and at least have visuals and see what we do.
And I'd like to thank Kimberly for her work on this. With all of the changes that have taken place in the organization of the town, it's taken a while for this to get caught up, but she's really got her hand on it and got the ball rolling. And she's not just doing this for the ERC, but she's doing this across the whole town website. So thank you, Kim. Any other comments? Okay, that's my talk. The Palm Cove Jinx Creek dredging project update, just to let people know what's going on there. The town applied for a grant for dredging a new channel for Jinx Creek, and that will be done under a project agreement with the Palm Cove community, and the Palm Cove community wanted this done. And they agreed to pay all of the costs that the town would have to pick up with the grant. In round numbers, the budget for the project was around $4 million. $3 million of it would be paid for by grant money. The other $1 million would be responsible for the responsibility of the town, and Palm Cove would reimburse the town for all of their expenses, not just their portion of the project cost, but for the administration costs and legal costs that the town would incur associated with the project. So the town was advised that we qualify for the grant, and now we have to sign a contract. That contract is under negotiation for a while. It hasn't been signed yet, so we really can't do anything more with it until that gets signed. But once that contract agreement is entered into, then the town will hire an engineer, and they'll go through the design and permitting process to try to get the project moving forward. So we'll see where that goes. But that's what I know about the status of things. Next area to talk about are the lakes and ponds. Steve, can you?
Yeah, well, I can give you somewhat of an update on some things. Stillwater activities. I have the last report from Stillwater. Stillwater, remember, is under contract to the town to treat all of the lakes and the ponds in the town to keep the weeds down. So the latest from Stillwater for December 12th is the last time that they were treated, was for the East Lake. Water clarity is very good. No filamentous algae, widgeon grass, or sago pondweed present during his visit. And the aerators were operating correctly. And I was out there yesterday, and I can vouch for what he just said in that report. And the West Lake is a little different. There is widgeon grass and sago pondweed still present within the lake. The plants have definitely shut down at this point, but are still lingering near the surface. I'm not sure exactly what he means, but I think he's talking about during the winter time, plants will not grow. They'll just kind of subsist, and sometimes they'll even die back. He did take some water samples to see the concentrations of the fluoridone present within the water column. Now, fluoridone, I assume, is the herbicide that he's treating the ponds with. See if it's still in there. And that'll help him understand the current state and how to appropriately move forward. So I'm not sure what he would actually do if there was fluoridone still in the water, or if that's going to affect how it's going to move forward, but I wasn't able to talk to him, so that's all we know right now. To me, the West Lake, the water clarity looked good, but it's just still a lot of weeds.
Who was this, Steve?
Hmm?
Who was the report? It's from Stillwater?
This is from Stillwater,
Okay.
yeah. But that's from mid-December. So this is, being mid-January, I don't see any change from mid-December. And I was surprised at how many, 24 areas is a lot, I guess, but, it's interesting to go out there and see those aerators at work.
Uh-huh.
I'm just curious because I noticed they put aerators on the lake on shoreline over where I live. How many of the ponds are they putting aerators in?
I think all the ponds are going to have aerators or fountains,
Okay.
and the fountain would function very similarly to an aerator.
Okay.
And it's putting,
Just for public information, with the drought and the lack of rainfall, the waters in these lakes and ponds become stagnant. And that's a real growth area for algae and weeds. And one of the benefits of a lot of rain is that the water flushes through these bodies of water and takes a lot of the contaminants out of the water. And we haven't had very much of that in quite a while.
and we're not going to have any, according to the La Nina report, not going to be much flushing. So the suggestion at the last meeting, I believe, was that maybe we should consider letting the tide do some flushing. Not sure if that's something we want to consider, but the town hasn't taken any action on that as far as removing boards in the spillover.
Now we've asked for a meeting with Stillwater to kind of share our findings with them and talk about what we get feedback from Stillwater about what they expect to happen and what changes they might be making in the treatment plan to deal with the lack of rainfall. But that hasn't been scheduled yet.
All right, and I do know that the state DWR Aquatic Weed Grant Program was supposed to be making decisions on whether or not we get funded in January. So we haven't heard from them yet. So they apparently haven't made decisions, or they have, and they're reluctant to tell us that we're not getting any money. I don't know what that information will show. So we're still waiting on that. And Jennifer, do you have anything else you wanted to talk about as far as?
Well, yeah, I had asked if we do the meeting with Stillwater, what they are treating the lake with. How long is our contract for, John? No?
For another year.
One more year, right? Okay. And then
It's a fiscal year. It's not the calendar year.
okay. And that ends
April.
when?
In June.
June.
July 1. Okay. And then the next thing was North Carolina Wildlife has a potential grant. It's a mini grant. So I've asked for criteria for that, and I got it and printed some out. I want to run it by Lisa, and I'll get John and everybody a copy. But I just got it yesterday. But there is possibility there. So take a look at that one. And I know Mila was looking at the one you're talking about with Rob Emmons. So hear from them. I think we'll probably have to contact them and find out eventually.
Also, I understand. Lisa say that the town had asked Rob Emmers to look at the Stillwater's
I don't know.
He agreed.
treatment.
He agreed that he would look at the treatment plan that we've got and make his
Oh, good.
suggestions.
Suggestions, right?
But that hasn't happened yet. But he's agreed to do that,
Right.
so we will get his input on that.
But the town has to reach out to him, find
Right.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all I have.
Thank you. The Green Subcommittee report, Candace?
We met last week regarding the Green Wave, which is the Earth Day, Arbor Day celebration. And Amy had sent out save the date notices in December, and then is in the process of sending out a communication now for these participants to confirm that they're coming. And we're going to follow that up with contacting them individually as needed. So I think we're making good progress there. And I know Steve and Amy have been talking about maybe sponsorships for Earth Day, Arbor Day. So we've got work to do, but I think we've made really good progress. It should be a really good event this year. Let's keep our fingers crossed that moving it to May gives us some better weather. That's always an issue. And then on the National Wildlife Federation, the certified wildlife habitat, I think we had decided it's something we would like to promote for the town. And it's not that difficult to do. What they say on their website, that there's 4 elements of a certified wildlife habitat that a property has to meet. In any property, it could be a government property, it could be a school, it could be a your own private property. But the 4 elements are providing food, whether it's seeds and nuts and berries, or just providing pollinator plants. Those things qualify. Providing water, which could be as simple as a bird bath in your yard. Places to raise your young, so providing habitat, whether it's shrubs and trees, or nesting boxes, but some place for birds and animals to raise their young, and then providing cover for them so that they have a safe environment. So as we were looking at this, I think several of us have already decided that we should be the first people to participate and pave the way. And Jennifer brought her certification.
Yeah, it's pretty easy if I can do it. Trust me, if we can do it, but very easy. And my take on that is, with us looking for funding, it would be nice if we were a certified wildlife habitat community. So if we can get and encourage people to do that, that would be wonderful.
And I think one of the goals, if we want to have the town certified, which, as she says, is very helpful in getting grants and things, we need to have 100 homes participate. And there's other things that we need to do to qualify, but we're hoping that at Earth Day, Arbor Day, we can start advising people about this and giving them information and seeing if we can get people to sign up. So if anybody here is interested, we'd be happy to talk to you about it.
There are 7 members of the ERC, and as far as I know, so far 4 of us have certified our properties, and the other 3 are working on it. You want to be truthful about this, so you want to be sure that you meet all the requirements, and sometimes there's little things you have to add to meet the requirements. But I did contact the National Wildlife Federation, and there's less than there's about a dozen people in the zip code for Sunset Beach who have certified wildlife habitats. Now the zip code covers an area greater than the boundaries of the town. But for the time being right now, that's the best gauge we have on the number of people that are signed up to this program. So there's people that got a head start on this ahead of the ERC, but that's good. And but we need to start getting the word out to other people and try to find more people to participate in this program. Put up our signs in our yards and share our interest to do this. Okay, thank you, Candace. Next item is the Tree City USA update. Lisa has worked hard over the last 6 months to try to submit an application to be designated as a Tree City USA town. The deadline was the end of December, Unfortunately, the tree board was not able to get established in time, and that has to be in place and functioning. So the submittal of the application is delayed until we get a tree board established. And from what I understand, there are enough people who have expressed an interest to be on the tree board that they're going to start interviewing sometime soon. And hopefully we'll get a tree board set up at the February council meeting. But that's a hope. I don't know that that will happen. But once the tree board is established, then the town will submit an application and try to get designated as a Tree City USA location. The other local communities that already have Tree City USA designation, I think the only one is Carolina Shores. I don't think any of the other coastal towns have it, but I know the city of Wilmington has it. So let's hope we can be a leader on Tree City USA and on certified wildlife habitat. The only other local community that has community certification is St. James Community. We'll keep pushing on those two things. We've already talked about the website update. So the next order of business are the election of a chair and the vice chairs for 2025. ERC has a practice where we re-elect the chair and the vice chairs every year. We were going to do it in December, but we postponed it till now because we wanted everybody present. We have one member who's not here today, but I think we have enough people to move forward on this. So we I'll start with the election of a new chair. I've been chair for a number of years. And I'm open to someone else wanting to do the job. But if the committee wants me to continue to serve, I'll be happy to do that. So is there anyone else with an interest to take over this job? It's been fun and an honor to lead this group.
Oh, thank you.
Can we nominate you to continue?
Yeah.
So if
I'll second that.
If you want me to, I need a nomination.
I'm nominating you to continue.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hands.
Aye.
I want to see if anybody's against me here. Thank you. We have two vice chairs. The three of us kind of operate, I like to think of us as we work together as sort of an executive committee. Every month before a meeting, we will have a meeting with Lisa and we'll talk about the agenda and we'll finalize the plans for the agenda and talk about, where we want to be going in the future. So we have two vice chairs right now. Steve Hines is one vice chair and Candace Saban is the other vice chair. For whatever reason, we designated Steve as the first vice chair. And so we'll start with his position. And I would like to nominate Steve to continue. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in
Second.
favor, raise your hands.
Aye.
Okay. The second vice chair position is Candace, but I think Candace would like to make a change.
Yeah, I've been second vice chair for 2 years, and it really has been a pleasure and an honor to work with Steve and John. But in this coming year, there's some other things that I want to work on. And after having worked with Kathy on the Green Subcommittee, I'd love to nominate her. I think you've got the skill set and the energy to do this and to really contribute.
I second
Jack.
Kathy.
But wait a second. You know, I'd appreciate that. But again, just like John and Steve have said, you know, I'm still learning here because I just joined the committee and I've appreciated everything I've learned. So I don't mind continuing in that role. But I know Candace has asked. As long as I don't have to run the meetings, I'm okay.
That's why I was
Is that a
second
yes or
vice
no?
chair.
Yeah, that would be a yes. I would do it if I
I'd
don't have to run the
I
meetings.
second. I second.
Well,
I'm still learning here, so
Maybe somebody
It's
else
a great,
wants to
but
go.
you know what? It's a great position to learn from because when I first started, I was new too. So, and you're going to be learning from two experts.
and the likelihood of you being asked to run a meeting is very low. If I can't be here, then the duty of running the meeting will go to Steve. If I'm not here and he's not here, then it would go to you.
You
But
might not have a quorum
Might
at
not
that
have a
point.
but by that time, we probably don't have a
yeah,
quorum.
that's
So
true.
Based on that description, I said, no.
So we've had a nomination and a second, and if you're willing to serve, then I would say, all in favor of
Aye.
Kathy as the vice chair? We're done. Okay. Congratulations to everybody. This is a great organization. It's a very diverse group of people with a lot of different, everybody brings something different to the committee, and that's good. We are organized in subcommittees. We have a climate subcommittee, a lakes and pond subcommittee, and a green subcommittee, which includes recycling. And usually when we elect new officers, we reorganize our subcommittees. But we're not going to do that today. We'll postpone that until next month. So that kind of concludes our meeting. Would anyone from the public care to make any comments about what we've done or planning to do going forward? Thank you for attending. No comments, then the next thing I need is a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.